everyone, it's Ms. Spencer. Today we'll be starting our unit on volume. The objective for today is that students will be able to find the volume of rectangular prisms using unit cubes. We're going to start with a review of area. Here we have our rectangle. Notice the side lengths are 4 units by 6 units. Area is the amount of space inside a two-dimensional figure or a 2D figure. Well, a 2D figure is any flat shape. So this rectangle over here is our 2D figure. These units inside would help us find the area. One thing we could do to find the area is to count each individual unit. 1 unit, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, but that would take a really long time. So we could multiply the side lengths to find the area inside the figure. The formula for area is length times width. So 6 units times 4 units equals 24 units squared. Notice here that our answer is units squared. That's because we're multiplying the units as well. Just like if we were multiplying 10 times 10, which is 10 squared or 100, we're multiplying units by units to get units squared. Whenever we're talking about area, we always want to refer to it as unit squared. If there's a specific type of unit, like feet or inches, then we would say feet squared or inches squared. What we can also do is turn this rectangle on its side. So notice in our first rectangle, our side lengths were 4 units up and down and 6 units left and right. We've turned this rectangle on its side, so now across is 4 units and up and down is 6 units. However, we're still multiplying these two side lengths, so our area is still 24 units squared. Length and width can be interchanged as long as we're using both side lengths. So now we're going to get started with talking about volume. We're going to start with the unit cube. Here, this is a 3D or three-dimensional figure. A unit cube is a measurement that we can use to find the amount of space in a 3D figure. So here, there's also length, width, and height, just like there was with finding the area with length and width. The only difference now is that it's 3D, so we include the height of this figure. Well, just like the rectangle, we can turn this on its side. So here, width is going how far back. But if we turn it on its side, the width could be going across and the length could be going how far back. So length and width can also be interchanged when talking about volume, just like when talking about area. Now let's talk about a rectangular prism. Here's a figure of a rectangular prism. It's a 3D figure, which means that there's space inside. We can fill this rectangular prism with unit cubes to figure out how much space is inside. Just like the unit cube, we have length, width, and height, showing that there's 3 dimensions, which is why this is called a 3D figure. Here, we can see our rectangular prism is partially filled with these unit cubes. These unit cubes can help us figure out the volume or the space inside our rectangular prism. Notice here that we still have our length, our width, and our height, keeping in mind that length and width can be changed between each other. So we're going to be using a simulator to help us find the volume using unit cubes. We're also going to be using real unit cubes to help us find the volume. Let's start here. Here's our rectangular prism. We can see that there's a length, a width, and a height to this rectangular prism. We're going to record those numbers or units over here. So here we see that there's 2 units going across. 1, 2. So we're going to put the length as 2 units. The width is 4 units because we can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 units going back. So our width is 4 units. Finally, we're going to record our height. Our height is how tall or how many layers our rectangular prism is. We see there's 1, 2 units going up, so our height is 2 units. You may be saying we've already counted this unit when we were measuring the length, but that's okay. This unit cube helps find our length and our height. We need to record it both times. So we're going to use unit cubes first to try to find the volume of this rectangular. All right, so you can see that I have our dimensions for a rectangular prism written here. Our length is 2 units, our width is 4 units, and our height is 2 units. We're going to be using unit cubes to create our rectangular prism. This here is a unit cube. We can see our length is 2 units, so we're going to put 2 units next to each other. 1, 2, that's our length. Now we're going to be putting in our width, which is 4 units. So we need a total of 4 units going back. We don't need to add 4 more. We just need a total of 4 units. 1, 2, 3, 4 units. But keep in mind, we're making a rectangular prism. Thinking of the word rectangular, our base should be a rectangle. So we need to add unit cubes on this side to form our rectangle. All right, so here we have our rectangular prism. We can find the area by counting the total number of cubes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cubes. Or we could multiply the length by the width. The length is 2 units. The width is 4 units. So 2 units times 4 units is 8 units squared, which is represented here. But we're not trying to find the area. We're trying to find the volume. In order to find the volume, we need to add in our height. Our height is 2 units, but if you look at each of these unit cubes, it's only 1 unit tall. So we need to go ahead and add another unit cube to each of these unit cubes here. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. By adding a unit cube to each of these unit cubes that are already here, we're adding another layer. All right, so we're going to now go ahead and reform our rectangular prism. So here we can see there's still 8 unit cubes on top and 8 unit cubes on the bottom because now we have 2 units as our height, or 2 layers. So before, our area, which was length times width, was 8 units, but we added a whole nother layer. So now we have 8 units on the top and we have 8 units on the bottom. So those 8 unit cubes times 2 layers means that we have a total of 16 units. We could count each of these units. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, but that's going to take a while. So we know that if our top layer has 8 unit cubes and our bottom layer has 8 unit cubes, we can either add 8 units plus 8 units to get 16 units, or we can multiply our 8 units on top times 2 layers because there's 2 layers, and 8 units times 2 layers is also 16 units. So now we're going to be using a simulator to create the same rectangular prism. This is the same simulator you'll be using for your activity, so make sure you watch how to use it. This is going to be the starting screen. What we're going to do is we're going to go up to the top here where it's like a wheel, and we're going to click on it. We're now going to create our dimensions. Our width was 4 units, so we're going to keep it at 4 units. Our depth is 2 units. The depth is going to be our length. So our length was 2 units. We're going to go down to 2 units. And our height is also 2 units. So we're going to put 2 units here and press OK. This creates the rectangular prism that we're now going to fill with unit cubes. So we're now need to partially close our box. We click on the blue square to make this go up. We click on the orange rectangle on the side to put this side up. And now we're going to use unit cubes, which is over here on your left, to fill our box. We could close the box all the way, but now it's hard to see the unit cubes that are going inside. If you do that by mistake, all you have to do is click on the side that you want to open, and it'll open up for you again. So we're going to start by putting in 1 unit cube. It showed up here. We can also see that there's a counter here to tell us how many unit cubes we're using. So we put in 1 unit cube, 2 unit cubes, 3 unit cubes, 4 unit cubes. Oh, that's our width going across 4 unit cubes. Let's keep adding unit cubes. Here we go. We're having a second row here because remember our length or depth is 2 units. So we're going to go ahead and add all of those units. So we just finished our first layer. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 unit cubes. Just like we said when we were using the real unit cubes to build a rectangular prism. The bottom layer or the base had 8 units. But remember, we don't have a height of 1 unit cube, we have a height of 2 unit cubes. So we're going to add a whole nother layer of unit cubes. We're going to use that cube button to go ahead, add 8 more on top, and now it's filled to the top. We can close our box and see that it's completely filled. We can look over here to see how many cubes we used, and we can see we used a total of 16 unit cubes, which is exactly what we found when we were using the unit cube in our hands. So the volume is 16 unit cubes. Check our work, and we're ready. To try another problem, you can click the fast forward button right here, and it'll set up a whole new problem. You can always change it or customize it by pressing wheel and then putting it to the dimensions that you want.